To understand how these floodings first occurred, it is important to understand the systems that led to the creation of such events that allowed for such extensive flooding to occur. First, there was a series of winter storms caused by low-pressure areas, one of the most notable being Cyclone Dirk. The low-pressure areas floated in from the North Atlantic Ocean and allowed for this series of winter storms bringing high tides, winds, and rainfall to be created. These winter storms moved over Great Britain and caused an increase in precipitation in the entire area, especially along the coasts. Series of high precipitation storms brought 2.4 inches of rain, which allowed for localized flooding due to saturated ground in southern England. Strong winds and high tides allowed for additional flooding along western England. One of the worst cases of the Great Britain winter floodings was in the Somerset Levels, a coastal plain and wetland in Somerset, England. Many of the rivers in the area could not contain the dramatic increase in rainfall, which led to the extent of the flooding in this particular area. The series of storms were described as winter storms, but an unusually strong and consistent amount of them, making the season only partially responsible, as the low-pressure areas contributed most greatly to the creation of these storms.
Winter storms battering the U.S. don't disappear when they head out to sea. Look at this new NASA imagery, which shows the last storm system before today's barreling across the Atlantic, where it linked up with one that had formed over the United Kingdom. Wherever the storms dumping rain on Britain are coming from, people caught in the rising floodwaters just wish they'd stop. Charlie D'Agata is there.
30-foot waves battered Britain's coast, heralding yet another severe storm in what's become an endless winter onslaught. Along with torrential downpours, this one brought hurricane-force winds. Last night, rooftop concrete plunged down onto this car, killing a 49-year-old woman right in the heart of London. Britain has become a battlefield with thousands of soldiers deployed to fight rising floodwaters. Prince William and Prince Harry even pitched in, delivering sandbags to residents.
Large portions of England were affected by the winter floods, most notably areas in which the ground had become saturated, areas along the coast where the high tide, strong winds, and heavy rainfall play a large role in the flooding, and poor maintenance of the environment, such as river dredging and poor soil quality. The most direct human impact for the flooding itself can be seen as the lack of river dredging channels near the Somerset area. Change in farming practice of this area from grassland to growing maize also made much of the ground unable to hold water that came from the increased precipitation. Both of these factors contributed to the extent of the flooding in Somerset. On a less direct note of human cause, climate change could be said to have played a major role in the formation of these Atlantic winter storms. The human impact on the climate through carbon dioxide emissions and the greenhouse effect, humans are responsible by some degree of separation to the creation of low-pressure areas. Over 600 homes and approximately 17,000 acres of agricultural land were flooded. The bulk of the floodings and its related impact began around the Christmas season, interrupting the traditional holiday season for those in areas susceptible to flooding. Eventually, as supplies dwindled, many were first forced to leave their homes as the flooding remained persistent and left many practically stranded with no food, power, or perhaps even means of communication. Main roads were closed and certain train services ceased. The floodings were said to have caused the local tourism industry upwards of £200 million. £1 million estimated in losses by local businesses. The fuel used to power the emergency pumps were also said to cost approximately £200,000 per week. The best that areas such as England can do to prepare for flooding is to account for the local terrain, such as the Somerset Levels and Moore's Action Plan. This plan set in place measures that help locally, such as consistent dredging of rivers, constructing tidal barrage, and the construction of permanent pumping stations. This costs a total of £100 million and is part of a 20-year plan. As far as the reduction of these Atlantic storms, the best humans can do is attempt to minimize our current ecological footprint so as to lower or at least stabilize the pattern of climate change to prevent the creation of these low-pressure areas that led to these winter storms and in turn to the intense flooding Britain received due to high rainfall and high tides.